restoration in 1970s was so different from the original that some activists went and filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court brought a stay order. So since then, it has remained like this. So much of what you see in Hampi, right, you can't really change it much. Most of what is done is trying and protecting what already exists without trying to change much of what is there. So let's get in. And here we have it in front of us now as the image download. Somehow today seems like the Google Earth is a little slow. Typically, this would load a lot faster. Let's see. Okay. So, yeah, okay. I think the recording software was taking a lot of my resources, which is why it was taking time to load. It should be faster now. So you can see the stone chariot in front of you and an image that is appearing in a small box. This is how it looked in 1850s. This is a photograph taken by an English man who visited. This is from the British Library. Unfortunately, the Vimana or the tower on top doesn't exist anymore. As you can see, this is a very typical Dravidian idiom structure. This stone chariot is actually a small shrine for Garuda, who is the Vahan of Vittala, who is the main deity in this temple. Now, if you look closely, this is an incredible structure. These wheels that you see here, they are, actually movable. They move around the axis that is also made of stone. Now they've actually sealed it to the base using some kind of concrete so that people don't mess around with it. But otherwise, few years ago, when you come, you could actually move the wheels. This is typical of this area because in this area, chariot festivals are huge. Like some of the other famous chariot festivals that we know of, like the Puri Jagannath festival. In most of coastal Karnataka and central Karnataka, you have huge Ratha festivals, Rathotsava we call it. And during those days, thousands of devotees come to get a chance to pull the Ratha. So the story here is that a lot of the devotees would come to the capital because they would miss the opportunity to actually pull the Ratha, because they would either arrive late and miss the opportunity. So the king created this stone Ratha where they could come and move the wheels and feel that they participated in this festival. So this is the stone chariot. If we move around, we'll see the main Gopura, and to the south of this is the Kalyana Mantapa. So let me zoom out a little bit. Yes, you can see the Kalyana Mantapa. This is an incredibly symmetrical structure. You can see the top part of the temple complex is actually made of brick and mortar. So this is how the moldings were. This is made of brick and mortar, and the bottom part are these stunningly ornamental pillars. Now look at this size of these pillars, right? These are carved out of a single piece of stone, and each of these pillars have multiple columns. See, in this case, there are 3 columns and then this pillar, right? And each of these, the entire structure from top to bottom is carved out of one piece of granite stone, right? Now, in comparison to the people walking around, you can tell what's the scale of this, right? There's huge pillars. Each of these pillars would weigh close to a ton, maybe a ton and a half, thereabouts. So carving these itself would be a challenge. And then if you look at the top, where the roof is there, which is also again made of stone, you can see these leaf-like structures that are carved. They're pointy as they go up like this. Look at how thin they are. if you can think that you will try and carve this on granite, you'll have to think again. Artisans today are not able to do this. So we really don't know what kind of tools they used, what technique they used to carve these kinds of curved leaves, if you will, at the tip of these roofs. Beautiful workmanship. Now we'll go inside the Kalyana Mandapa. So this Kalyana Mandapa, as the name suggests, Kalyana means wedding. So people believe that this was a wedding hall, and there is a little platform inside the structure where there used to be a place for carrying out the wedding ceremonies within the temple complex. Now, why I want to show you inside of this is it shows you a little bit about the cosmopolitan nature of the capital of Vijayanagara in those days. So let's get in. So on the inner inside of this Kalyana Mandapa, which is where we are, we have these stunning pillars. Very typical of Vijayanagara temples again is these big giant pillars would be carved with these mythical creatures we call Yali and Makara. So you will see these Yali figurines, which are again mythical creatures, and they are kind of a composite of multiple animals, right? So you can see the head. You can it has a mane like a lion, but it has pointy ears, maybe like an antelope or a deer. The hind legs have talons, almost like an eagle. You can see at the bottom the talons that are there on the feet, and the body itself is very the front hoof like a horse, but it has a tail like a lion. So it is a composite itself of multiple animals, and then you have Makara at the bottom. What is interesting is each of these Yali Makara figurines are mounted and mounted by a soldier. And let's get a closer look using these, kind of high quality pictures where you'll get an idea. So here you can see this soldier, and what you can pay attention to is the dress, right? Like what kind of clothes he's wearing, what kind of turban he's wearing, what does his facial hair look like, what kind of sword he's carrying, what kind of dagger he's carrying. And as you go around this Kalyana Mandapa, each of them have distinct styles, right? Look at this conical cap, this tunic for a top. You would think that this kind of dress is like some visitor coming from Turkey or like the Middle East or somewhere. But in fact, this was high fashion in Vijayanagara in those days. I'm not kidding you. The king himself wore a cap very similar to this. Unfortunately, in today's time, when we recreate, we look at the turbans that the Mysore Wadayars wore, and we think even the Vijayanagara kings wore the same kind of stuff. No, you can imagine this time in Vijayanagara in early 16th century when Krishnadevaraya, who built this temple complex, this was an interesting time. We call this in history pre-modern era, right? And this is the time when Europeans first landed on the shores of India. This was also the time when Turks, Iranians were frequenting India with new fabrics, new fashion, new ideas, architecture, art. In the capital city of Vijayanagara, you had South Indians, North Indians, Hindus, Muslims, Jains, Turks, Portuguese, all making a life and their fortune. And so it was a very challenging time. The kings of those times had to deal with globalization, had to deal with doing trade at a global scale. At the same time, had to ward off enemies within their kingdom and outside. And this was also the time when guns were introduced in Indian subcontinent. Suddenly, you had people using cannons in warfare and musket guns. So it was an interesting time in history, and you can imagine this capital city was such a place that was buzzing with fashion. And so, in keeping in tune with the times, the Vijayanagara kings also took in fashion elements from different parts of the world, took weapons from different parts of the world, took architectural ideas from different parts of the world. Some of the other soldiers that you can see represented here. Here you can see the curved dagger, which was typical of the militia, the Muslim militia that was available for hire. And the Vijayanagara kings kept Muslim militia, also in their ranks. They had Marathas, they had Tamil kings. So each of these kings are represented in their own unique fashion of how they wore turban, what kind of daggers they wore, what kind of clothes they wore. So this is something when you come to Hampi, you have to go to this Kalyana Mandapa and observe very, very keenly. Now that you know of it. Now coming to the the most exciting part. See, we can actually spend 5 hours just in this temple, but we don't have, so we'll just see the highlights of some of these things. Coming to the most important part, I'm sure you're dying to see this part, which is the 56 pillared Rangamantapa. Now earlier you saw some pillars with 3 columns. Here we have pillars with up to 7, 8, 12 columns carved in a single piece of stone. And if you go to guides in Hampi, or you might have read that when you strike these columns, musical notes appear, from these the pillars. So, is there any truth to this, or is it just like some fancy tale that guides have made up? This is a question that everyone has on their mind. So, I'm going to give you some perspective on this, right? Uh, right now, the pillars that you see here, these are called Sapta, Swara pillars, which is the 7 notes of the Indian musical note. These 4 pillars on the front and the 3 pillars here on the side. These are supposed to, each one when you strike, they are supposed to resemble the notes from the Indian musical notes. So what is the truth behind this? So let's look at it from different angles, right? Let's look at the legacy that we have in using stones as musical instruments. Going back to Neolithic period, all around the world, you can Google this word rock gong or lithophones. And you'll find that in almost every culture around the world, people use stones as musical instruments. Stones, especially granite, have this grain structure because of how lava cools and forms, which have certain resonant properties, which lends themselves to being used as musical instruments. Forget around the world. Right here in Hampi, about 10 kilometers from this site of this temple, there is a site where there is a Neolithic gong. A Neolithic site where there is an actual place where there is a rock gong, which is Neolithic men in this region used to make ritualistic music. So it is not hard to imagine that this area had that legacy. Second, if you look at the literature in India, there is a long line of literature we have called the Shilpa Shastras. Shilpis are master craftsmen. Shastras are a piece of literature that document their work, and a lot of different Shilpa Shastras talk about how do you choose the stone, what shape of stone will give you what kind of sound, how to test the quality of stone for different functions, and so on and so forth. So there is already a lot of legacy in using stones for different kinds of things, including for their tonal quality. Talking about scientific analysis, there is a lot of study that has been done on these, but there has to be more investigation done, further investigation done. But they have found that the mineral quality and the quantity of the granite stones that are there in Hampi, they actually lend themselves to resonant properties. And they have tested the pillars here, by knocking on the pillars and then trying and knocking on the pillars and trying and observing using coupling devices, using resonant devices. If you are interested in more scientific analysis of these musical pillars, we can take that about in a later part of this thing, or you can contact me separately. We can go over it. But for now, what I will say is it is not hard to imagine that these are actually columns that were used for their musical properties. What is more interesting to look at, other than all these theories about the musical this thing, is the art itself. And what does art history tell us about these pillars? For that, we'll have to go inside the Rangamantapa, which is a privilege only Google Earth can give us. Because today, if you go to Hampi, you cannot actually see what you're seeing right now on your screen. So here, this part of the Mantapa, the Rangamantapa, is at the front facing east, and this is called the Natya Mantapa. And on the inner side, you have these figurines that are carved. And here in front of you, you can see a cymbal player. A cymbal is a tala, and on the left here, you can see a mridangam player. So mridangam and tala are basically the two most basic instruments used in classical dance. In training of classical dancers, anyone who's learned Bharatanatyam, all the students first learn just using these two instruments. That is the mridangam and the tala or cymbal. And on the other side, also you have a dhol and a mridangam player. So the idea is that when the columns here on the side are hit by a stone or a piece of wood, then the sound emanating from them resembles that of a mridangam or a dhol. And in the other case, it is a higher pitch noise of a cymbal. So this is pretty incredible, actually, right? And the inspiration for building this 56 pillared mantapa with musical columns, they say, is the queen of Krishna Devaraya. One of his queens, his younger queen, Chinnamma Devi, was in fact a dancer. And she ran a dance school within the capital city. One of the travelers, the Domingo Payas, Portuguese travelers who came to the city, was given a tour of the palace. And he describes when he went inside how there is, within the palace grounds, there is a huge dance school run by the queen, right? And this is an extensive school where there is a separate area for them to exercise, separate area for them to perform, and so on. Here, behind this pillar, actually, unfortunately, because of the state in which this temple is, you cannot see properly. But this figure that is there on this pillar in front of us is actually that of a dancer. So the story is that this is actually the queen, Chinnamma Devi herself, and her portrait. So this is, what is special about, the temple complex of Vittala temple. These are some other areas within the Rangamantapa. Here on the inside, you can see carved Vamana with his feet high. Vamana is one of the avatars of Vishnu. Here you can see Narasimha on the other side. Like this, if you go around, there are all these motifs that are mostly to do with Vishnu in this temple complex. So the other thing I cannot move away is the Pushkarini. Like we saw a lot of tanks within the urban area, there is also stunning tanks in the sacred area also. This is one of the largest tanks in Vijayanagara, and this was actually next to the marketplace near Vittala temple complex. So beautiful tank. Usually even today, if you go here, there are still aquifers in the hills surrounding which supply water into this tank every time there is rain. Some of the other things, that the temple style of Vijayanagara was known for are their monoliths. So if you come to Hampi, I'm going to show you only this one, but there are several monoliths in Hampi. This being most spectacular one. This was one of the last things that Krishna Devaraya actually commissioned, and this is this giant monolith of Narasimha. A lot of people think this is Ugra Narasimha because of the way the eyes look, but actually this is Lakshmi Narasimha. There used to be a statue of a goddess, Lakshmi, sitting on the left lap of Narasimha, which was broken, and is today in the museum in near Hampi in Kamlapur. But this is stunning, really, because of the kind of scale and size of this statue, right? And you can see the seven-headed serpent at the top, and even above that is the Kirtimukha. And all of this is carved out of a single piece of stone. If you go behind this, you can actually see the hand of Lakshmi still there. So again, this is something, when you come to Hampi, you cannot see this because you are not allowed inside. You have to see whatever you see from outside the gate. So this is a real treat for us to be able to see this from the back. So here you can see the hand of Lakshmi right here. which is still intact. And you can see how all of this is made from a single piece of stone. You can see everything is connected. It's a really incredible thing. Now, for the last part, we will move to um, the courtly style of Vijayanagara, and we'll see. I have a special treat for you here, which is will be revealed at the end of this presentation. Okay. So I told I earlier about how the courtly style of Vijayanagara is unique because how it merges the Deccani style and kind of Dravidian temple styles into one unique kind of style. Um, Here goes. So in the first example of this, within the urban area which we had visited earlier, is a structure is an area called the Zenana enclosure. Now, zenanas are quite common in those days. A lot of people misunderstand what zenanas are. Zenana is actually not a term Vijayanagara kings would have probably used. This is because a huge bias in amongst the archaeological community exists, because most of the excavators and most of the ASI folks come from North India. So it has been named Zenana enclosure. But this was an enclosure where mostly, the women in the palace would reside, right? And this is one of the best surviving structures of that time. It is called Lotus Mahal. Again, we don't know what the Vijayanagara people call this, right? Like, this is a name that we have given today because it resembles a lotus because of its symmetry. Now, if you look at this structure closely, um, you can see how it blends the two styles. Look at the arches, right? This arches has a very common, like peacock arch, we call it, right? Like very common amongst the Deccani or Islamic structures. At the same time, you have these domes, which have this kind of tiers, which is typical in temple styles. Now, there are in all 9 domes, and each of the domes, as you enter the center dome, the dome at the center is the highest one, tallest one. And as you come towards the side, they reduce in size. And there is one in the center, 4 outside, and then 4 more projecting on the other sides, and that makes a total of 9 domes. And it's perfectly symmetrical structure, right? The entire thread bone of this, or the skeletal structure, is made of granite, and on top of that they have put brick and plaster to yeah, here is a very close view of Kirtimukha. In fact, there were yalis also on the sides, which unfortunately today haven't survived. Otherwise, you would have been able to see the yalis on these as well. There are many structures like this that have survived. We'll see some more of them. Here you can see on the outside, just outside the Zenana enclosure, is the elephant stable. And again, with the domes of the elephant stable, you can see they have a decidedly kind of mixed style, both Islamic and the Dravidian style. Some other structures in this style that survive in and around Hampi. This is Gagan Mahal in the village of Anegundi, which was within the suburban area of Vijayanagara, the city. Again, here too you can see the dome, which is tiered like a temple, but arches that are very is kind of Islamic, and these kind of jutting out, which you'll see very commonly in North India, in forts of and palaces of Rajasthan. Um, and then you have this more later time structures in Chandragiri near Tirupati, which is also built in very Vijayanagara style. You also saw an earlier structure, which is the Queen's Bath. So we'll take a look at the Queen's Bath, which is also of the same kind of courtly style with its arched windows. right? And these viewing galleries that is jutting out from the main structure. So a lot of fusion that is happening here. This small picture is of this is a hotel close to Hampi called the Evolback Resorts, which they have basically recreated one of the structures called the Jal Mahal, which is a palace that is built in middle of a small pool of water, which actually exists in Hampi too, but only the basement or the masonry work remains. So they have also copied kind of the styling of the domes and the arch windows and how this might have looked back then. Finally, I am going to take you far from Vijayanagara. The thing is, we've seen a lot of incredible structures in Vijayanagara, but problem is only the brick and mortar structures have survived. What about the rest of the structures that were there in the city, right? We saw a lot of structures that had only the basement moldings, which is like the if you look around here, I'm going to just turn 180 degree from the Lotus Mahal, and if you look at here, this is where the Jal Mahal is, right? You can see the pool here, but there is no structure on top of the foundation, right? Because these foundation and the structure was all built of wood and a little bit of brick and plaster. And because most of the wood did not survive, the structure hasn't survived. And this is the story of most of Hampi, right? Like any structure made of timber, of wood, hasn't survived. So unfortunately, there is not even a single example in Vijayanagara where we can actually go and see a structure that is made of wood from the Vijayanagara times. But there is one structure that has survived, and it has survived not in Hampi or not in Vijayanagara, but all the way in Udupi, small town of Udupi. There is a museum called Hasta Shilpa Museum, which is a heritage museum, which has been open now for 5 years. And this museum is known for basically, restoring vernacular structures, mostly made of wood, and buying them out from their current owners, which is usually royal families who cannot, kind of take care of it because it's too expensive to. And then they rebuild it in Udupi, in this area. And there are stunning structures here all over. You can see some of these structures here. These are all from different eras all from Karnataka, some from Kerala, some from border areas of Maharashtra. But there is one structure here called the Kamal Mahal in Kuknur, which is actually very close to Vijayanagara, and it belonged to one of the commanders of the Vijayanagara army. And Kuknur is in Koppal district, very close to Hampi. And within the fortified area, there was one structure called Kamal Mahal, which again, same as Lotus Mahal, right? The name. And this used to be a resting place of a commander of Vijayanagara. And this is said to be from 14th century. So is very early Vijayanagara period structure, and only structure that has kind of survived for us to look at how these houses or palaces may have looked like. So this right here, this structure that you see in front of us, that's what this is. I have prepared a few slides from pictures that I have that we will see some of the woodwork from the Vijayanagara period, which is incredible. So this is the structure, this is the look, and this is on the right hand side. You can see the layout of the entire thing. The pillared hall is what we have photos of, which is on the left side of the structure. The entrance is on the right, and there is multiple levels of verandas or jaglis as we call it, and then leading into the main hall. And in the main hall, it is almost an incredible replica of the Kalyana Mantapa, which we saw earlier, which was entirely made of stone, if you remember, right? And it had this stunning structures made of stone, beautiful carved pillars, and layers of it. The same thing here is made of wood. So here you can see the ceiling of this structure, stunning, and this is original wood, all from the 14th century structure, original. Some of the smaller structures that were missing were recreated and fitted again. Um, Here you can see on the right and left the pillars and the ceiling. A stunning structure. You have to come to Udupi to see it. They don't let you actually take photographs, but there are people who have taken some photographs, which is why we are able to show this. So next time, if someone asks you if there is any remaining structures from Vijayanagara period, you'll have to come to Udupi to come and see this. So with that, we reach the conclusion of our virtual walk today, and this whole session was meant to be kind of an introduction to the architecture and style and the layout of the city of Vijayanagara. And there is a lot more to explore in each of these topics. So if you are interested, please come visit us in Hampi, contact us. We are always available to help you. We are called Explore Hampi, and you can find our website explorehampi.com. With that, I'll give it to Dr. Soumya Roy. And if you have any questions also, we can certainly take that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhatt. I mean, what fantastic way of putting together something as exquisite as Hampi into a virtual tour, and that too explaining every nuance of architecture, the cultural background of it. And honestly, being a scholar in history myself, I do understand how Vijayanagar Empire and the entire, the expanse of that empire. And we, like you rightly mentioned, we never talk about it, the Vijayanagara, kingdom or any. It's always, sometimes yes, kingdom, but mostly it's always an empire.
Yeah.
So I think very rightly pointed out, and something as prolific, as beautiful as Hampi has been captured on our screens virtually like this. Even though we are right now coming in from different parts of our country, we could visit your expertise area in Hampi. So thank you so much for taking us through. So on behalf of India City Walks Festival, supported by Ministry of Tourism, Incredible India and UNWTO, I wholeheartedly thank you and your expertise in this area for showcasing this beautiful part of our country to each one of us. I'm looking forward to on-ground visit to Hampi with you so that we understand the nuances even more better. At the end of the day, I think tourism is best experienced when on ground, and that is the initiative that this festival is looking forward to. That there's so much wonder in our own country, and it's so beautifully done that we need to take pride in our own heritage and culture and tradition. Unless we do that, nobody else is going to come and restore it for us or culturally awaken our minds. So it's our duty, and I think people like you, the support of your expertise is something that is incredible in this journey. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. If we have questions, we can take questions. Anybody? Pretty much anything we've talked about or anything else you're curious about. We didn't cover any of the stories, and another way of looking at Vijayanagara is also to bring alive many stories. One of the fortunate things about the Vijayanagara is we have a lot of stories from different travelers, from literary sources, both in Telugu, in Persian, in Kannada, poetry work, to kind of all build a storyline and how the battles were fought and all of that. So that.
Do you also touch upon the Sangam literature by any chance?
Not so much. No. So a lot of Telugu literature that was kind of reimagined during this period,
Yes.
And we look at a lot of the Haridasa movement, the poetry Vasantotsava competition that happened here in capital during the Mahanavami celebrations.
Right.
That is when a lot of very interesting literary works came
Yes,
out.
of course. I think a lot has been captured very well with all the kinds of movements that has been seen during that empire. Also, I think Akka Mahadevi as a figure, all of that coming to my mind every time you speak about this entire empire and its beauty and its grandeur. Do you have any thoughts about the contrast of Bahmanis with the Vijayanagara? Would you Would you be able to comment on anything on that
Contrast with respect to
with architecture?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't studied Bahmani architecture extensively, but very clearly there are influences in Vijayanagara architecture from the Bahmani, style itself. But Bahmani itself continuously got, influence from Iran, from
That's true.
Turkey
That's right.
throughout their period, whether it was how they built their forts, which were for their time very advanced in how they were built for defense. Unlike any other forts anywhere else in India, the Bahmani forts in Bijapur and
Yes.
anywhere else were incredible, very hard to breach. And because the medieval battles were really focused on kind of siege operations, this was very, very crucial kind of thing. And some of that also learning was brought into Vijayanagara in terms of how certain fortification, how certain defense mechanisms were kind of deployed in Vijayanagara. But in terms of the courtly styles, I think it's for us to really see there is a lot of borrowing from the Deccani and Bahmani styles.
All right. Thank you so much. I think with that, we could conclude our session for today.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for attending.
So much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.